Hi there, and welcome to the third episode of Teacher to Teacher. Last week, we talked about teacher well-being and also about communicating with students. And this week, the two episodes are going to be focused on teaching online. So today, we're going to be talking about useful online tools that you can actually use in your lessons. I personally have to admit that before lockdown started, I wasn't used to teaching online. So I guess like many of you, I had to get used to a lot of tools all at once. For example, I'd never used Google Classroom with students before. So I found that I had to self-teach myself how to create assignments, schedule posts, mark assignments. And of course, a lot of tutorials that I watch really help. And also a lot of my colleagues who are more experienced also helped. But still, it was really stressful. Also, for the first couple of days or the first week, a lot of tools were made available for teachers for free. And so I felt very overwhelmed and I thought it was a bit too much. So the first few days or even the first week, I felt very lost because I really didn't know where to start. And that's why I thought in today's episode, I'm not going to provide you with yet another long list of online tools that you can use, but actually I'm just going to share with you the three that have been the most useful for me, and I'm going to tell you how they've improved my online classes. So I hope, as usual, they're useful for you too. Okay, so the first tool that I wanted to recommend is called Loom. It's a free screencasting tool to introduce new concepts to students or to create tutorials for them. And for example, in the first couple of weeks, I used Loom to create a lot of tutorials for my students to learn how to use Google Classroom, which is the platform we're currently using with them. And it's really funny because before I created the tutorials for them, I had to watch a few myself to learn how to actually use the platform. And I actually told them, look, this is my first tutorial and this is my first experience with Google Classroom. And I think this really helped us to bond even closer because it showed them that we're actually all on the same boat. They're forced through this experience, but we're finding ourselves in the same situation. So I think this puts us at the same sort of level. And students really appreciated my being honest, I think. So anyway, apart from making tutorials, I also use Loom to create videos with PowerPoint presentations that I've designed for my students. And the cool thing about videos with Loom is that you don't only record the presentation, for example, your desktop or a specific tab that you want to select, but you also record your voice and most importantly, your face. It appears in the form of a spotlight or a little square, and you can place it anywhere in the screen. And I think linked to what we were saying in episode 2 of Teacher to Teacher, having your face there in the presentation gives it that personal touch, makes that tiny little difference that students really appreciate because it feels as if you were there with them. So I think that really can help them to relate a bit more and to feel a bit more like they're with you. So using Loom is very easy, and unlike Screencastify, it doesn't have any time restrictions, so you can record for as long as you want. And you can edit your videos in a very simple way because Loom enables you to trim them or to leave out bits. And this is very useful in case you make a mistake or you get stuck. And you can also pause your video, which is very useful for longer recordings. And once you're finished recording your video, it's also really easy to share it because you can send the link by email or you can invite specific people and even password protect the video if you want. And you can also download the video as an MP4 file for you to have saved. Finally, another feature that I really liked about Loom is that you get notified every time somebody watches your video. And I think this is really cool to monitor students' work and to make sure they're actually watching the tutorials we're providing them with. And once students have watched the video, they can leave some feedback in the form of an emoji, or they can also leave some written comments. And I encourage them to write some comments or to write some questions they may have, because this really helps me to design my next lesson based on their current needs. So if you've never used Loom, it's really easy. To start using Loom, you just need to download the app on your computer, or you can also download the extension on Chrome. But personally, I recommend downloading the app because it has some more features, like an annotating tool that enables you to write on the presentation as you show it to the students. So with Loom, you'll be able to make very professional looking videos in little time. So try it out and see for yourself. Okay, so moving on to tool number 2, which is called Padlet, or you may also know it as Wall Wisher, which is what it was called before. I had actually been using Padlet for quite a while, but when lockdown started and I had to change my lessons into this online medium, adapt them to the new format, I figured Padlet could be a really useful tool to make lessons a bit more interactive and fun. And well, as you may know, Padlet is an interactive corkboard, an online corkboard, where students can post their ideas in the form of little post-it notes, and they can not only write, but they can also post links or videos or even images. So it allows them to express themselves in many different creative ways. Using Padlet is really easy because all you need to do is register and then create your Padlet wall and just share it with your students through the link. You can send it by email or you can share it on their online learning platform. And of course, you can customize your Padlet wall and change its color or the font it's using or the little illustrations you include. So it's really, you can make it very appealing according to your students' taste. Padlet, as I said, is really easy to use, and there are many different ways that you can use it in. One of the ways that I've used it in, for example, is to get students to brainstorm ideas in groups. So, for example, at the beginning of lockdown, I posted a Padlet and I asked my students, what are you doing to keep mentally healthy and physically fit? So this was my SO3. My SO3 students started contributing to their wall, started writing their little notes with their ideas. And Marina, for example, wrote, you could do Tabata. And it was really cool because spontaneously, some of her peers, started asking, Tabata, what is Tabata, Marina? So Marina got a chance to explain what Tabata actually is. And because you can also post links and other items, she posted a link to a sample Tabata lesson for everyone to get a clearer picture. And I myself took the chance to tell Marina and the rest about this P. Joe YouTube lessons. And so I could post one of the videos that P. Joe did for everyone to see that this would also be a really cool idea. I thought this was a great activity because students had a genuine interest to learn about each other and to see what each other what they were all up to. And I find since they're not seeing their peers, they're more interested in reading their contributions and in finding out a bit more about them. And of course, for me, it was very useful to get that information and to see how the students were doing, how they were coping with the situation. So all in all, it was very, very valuable. Another way that I've used Padlet is to get students to answer a specific question. For example, my first lesson after Easter, again with my SO3s, but I did this with all my groups, was what did you do over Easter? So I asked my students to write 3 sentences that they had done during their Easter break for everyone to see. Some of the students just wrote the 3 sentences, whereas others posted pictures, for example, of their Easter eggs or of their Easter cakes or of stuff that they've been doing. For example, Marina again posted a photo of her doing sport. Nuria did some cooking. She made a cheesecake, so she posted a picture of the cheesecake. So it was very interactive, and it's really cool because you can see the students' contributions popping up. So it's actually really motivating to see what they're about to write. And then as a follow-up activity, once the students had written their contributions, I asked them to read all of the students' posts or some of the students' posts and find 2 things that they had in common with their peers. I showed a slide of a presentation that I had prepared with some scaffolding, some sentence beginnings for the students to know how to start writing. And for example, I wrote things like, both Maria and I did this, or neither Maria nor I, did this. Or Maria did this, but I, da. So the sentence beginnings help them to actually know where to start. And they wrote their sentences on the Zoom chat, so you could see the Zoom getting filled with little sentences. And it was a great sort of summary of what they've been doing, mostly listening to music, cooking, playing video games, doing some sport. So it was a nice recap just to get everyone sort of focused. And it showed them also that they were basically doing very similar things because we're all together in this. So I think in a way it really helped them to bond as well. Apart from that, you could also use Padlet as a sort of roundup tool or feedback tool. And for example, I did this with my SO4s at the end of the week to ask them for feedback on the activities that they'd done during the week, to see what they had liked best, what they had found most difficult, and what they would like to do. And funnily enough, all of them said, we really like Padlet. So they wanted more Padlet in their lesson. So I'm trying to integrate that in every lesson, basically, in a different way. Once you're done with the Padlet activity, once your students have written their contributions and the activity is finished, another cool feature of Padlet is that you can download the wall as a PDF document or as an image, and you can keep it and use it as a starting point to work on the students' needs and give them feedback and to see what they really need to learn, what they're really lacking. And I also posted on their Google Classroom for them to see as a sort of, okay, so this is what we did in our Zoom class. And I think it gives it a nice touch just to see that they've been up to something. I mean, if you're not familiar with Padlet, I really recommend checking out Russell Stannard's videos on teachertrainingvideos.com. I'm a big fan of Russell Stannard, I have to admit, because he's got tutorials on almost everything. So go check it out. And I think all in all, Padlet is a really easy way of making our lessons a bit more interactive, participative, and fun. So I really encourage you to check it out, give it a try and start experimenting, and let me know how it goes. So last but not least, the third tool I wanted to talk about is called TED Ed. You might be familiar with that because of the TED Talks, and they're indeed related. But TED is a website which includes hundreds of student-friendly videos and animations which come with pre-prepared lessons for you to use in your online classes. So it's a really great tool. For example, if you go to the serious section, you'll find a bunch of videos divided into different categories. For example, there's awesome nature, there's how things work, there's inventions that shape history. And in this specific category, I found a few videos that my SO4 students really liked. There was this section on inventions, and they especially liked the history of blue jeans and also how rubber gloves were invented, which is actually very current given the current circumstances right now. And what I asked the students to do was to watch 2 of the videos that were available about inventions. I think there are 10 in total, and to summarize the content of how that invention came into place. And then they had to decide on which invention they found the most innovative and the most useful in our current life, in our everyday life. So that was really interesting, and they gave me really good feedback on that activity because they said the videos are very short. They're usually 2 to 4 minutes long. They come with subtitles, and they're very easy to sort of watch because they're very appealing, visually appealing. And the students said they could watch them more than once and still it was not very time consuming. So I really recommend watching those videos. And another one that my SO4 students really liked too was the history of graffiti. This was in a different category, but it was really interesting because it gave rise to a heated debate on whether graffiti was art or vandalism. Because TED Ed videos come with 2 extra sections that are called Dig Deeper and Discussion, where students can do further research on the issue and also give their opinion on the topic. And this is what we did with the topic of graffiti, and it was really interesting. So I highly recommend that video, and I think it's like 5 minutes long tops. So another cool feature of TED Ed is that, like I said, most of the videos come with pre-prepared lesson plans, and the lesson plans include an introductory section, a couple of comprehension questions, and then a discussion section. And if you sign up for the TED Ed newsletter, you can get these pre-prepared lessons delivered to your inbox every week, actually every day of the week, which is great because you can then browse and decide which are more appropriate for your group. And the last feature that I really like about TED is that if you register on the website, which I think is ed.ted.com, it's a lot of dots, but you'll find the website eventually. You can customize the pre-existing lessons, and you can also create new lessons with the existing videos or with a YouTube video that you found yourself, and you can add comprehension questions, you can add an introductory section, and as many discussion sections or dig deeper sections as you like. So this is a really, really versatile tool that I highly recommend to get students to improve their English in a visual and fun way. I highly recommend TED, so try it out. Just as a quick recap, in today's episode, we've looked at 3 tools that can help you to improve your online lessons. The first one was to deliver content to students, to introduce students to new content in the form of videos, and it was called Loom. The second tool is called Padlet, and it was meant to get students to express themselves and write their ideas in a creative way in using several mediums. And the last one that I just mentioned was TED with very interesting video content and pre-prepared lessons that you can use. I really hope the suggestions were useful. I personally have become a very loyal fan of these 3 tools, and I use them very often in my online lessons. So try them out, see if they work for you. And if you have any other favorite tools that you use in your lessons, please share them. You can share them in the comment section below or on Twitter with Macmillan and myself. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and see you next Thursday for more. Bye.